going to be trying to talk a lot quieter and more consistently in this video. It's going to be a very serious video because more than one person has said to me, Alan, and I said, what? And they said, Alan, when you talk normally and then suddenly you do a lot of shouting, like 10 times louder. I won't get onto the subject of perceived loudness at this point, but apparently it hurts their ears. So I want you to know, to all those people who are now having a new moan, I'm used to moaning about lots of things going on in my videos over the years, but there's a pickup in the number of people who don't like me suddenly shouting. So just let you know, in this video, there will be lots of shouting! But on a more serious note, when I first heard this, but what speaker is it, Al? It would be good if you actually told us what speaker it is, and I would tell you what the speaker is. It's the Soundcore! I don't think I've ever heard of them before. Oh, hang on a sec. I've heard of them a lot. Soundcore. I think this is the first month we've not had a new speaker from Soundcore for 2 years. What's going on? Are they taking stock on all the past thingy-jigs that's been going on with marketing of the speaker and all that and all that and all that? And they're sitting around table saying, what should we do? More of the same? Shall we... should we change, go back to how we used to be with those good value speakers, or just, we don't know. But what we do know is Soundcore, the last one I reviewed, the Soundcore Motion, it's not the Motion, they dropped the Notion. Man, it's confusing. It was bad enough before without the shouting, and now we've got shouting and confusion. The good line used to have the name Motion. Now they're going only, the Motion seems to be their lifestyle overhyped speakers, in my opinion. And the Boom line is simply for the Boom Boom crowd. We'd like to have both, but anyway. So it's the Soundcore Boom Plus 2, and that's the follow-up to the Soundcore Motion Boom Plus 1. When I first heard this speaker, do you remember my reaction? And it was, ugh. I'm just trying to get the thumbnail right. Because, well, some of you may be really, really happy with the amount of huge, it's massive. And I'm not even talking about any, and anyway, and I didn't even say she said, until I said, she said, do you know why? Because apparently I said it way too much in the last video, and now I'm so conscious about it, I will never say it again. She said, no, it doesn't even go, does it? It doesn't even fit. She said, boom, boom. Right, I didn't do that deliberately. It's just part of my rambling. Right, boom, it's the Boom Plus 2, massive, massive, huge, mid-bass, upper bass. So huge that you're either going to like it or hate it. But we wanted a bit more deep bass. The fact you've got so much mid-bass anyway, it's going to hide some of that deep bass, even if it was there. But I already gave you reasons why it might not be there. Anyway, there may be issues, well, even on mine, where, although they play a bit deepish on the passives, wasn't seemingly radiating out. So I didn't get a sense of deep bass as I'm actually listening to the passive radiators, which would be really, really stupid. So the long and short is, I didn't like it. Some of you liked it, and some of you EQ'd it and said, well, it's much better after EQ. Fair enough, but I got it in default. And the problem with EQ is everybody has different tastes. So everyone's idea of a good, decent EQ is going to be different. This is why I'm fed up doing the EQs, because some people will always be happy, some people will never be happy, whatever you do. But if I'm just doing it in default, at least we know where we are, and that's their tuning. It should be the best tuning of all time, shouldn't it? If that's their default tuning. So the point of the video is, we woke up. Do you remember we used to wake up and every time we had a firmware update, it said bugs fixed. And then we started doing videos saying, why do they keep saying bugs fixed? And suddenly, all these companies who apparently want nothing to do with me are no longer saying bugs fixed. We are now telling us what the actual things that they're doing with the speaker is. I was on 0.3.08. When I already knew there was one coming, because you've been telling me there's been a new firmware and it sounds like the sound has changed, but I've only they rolled it out slowly, so I've only just. I was thinking, should I say? She said, because apparently it's a drinking game. You told me it's a drinking game now. How many times I say it? And that's why I never say it. Say it. What is it, Al? No, I'm not going to get into that one. She said, right, 0.3 video. I'm doing a video. We woke up. It's a firmware, and they're telling you what has changed. 0.3.10 is. They're going to optimize the sound quality. Here's an idea. Do that before you release the speaker. Because it does seem now consistently we're being used as beta testers. And also, they are optimizing the lighting effects, which none of you told me you wanted, but they've spent time doing it. I could have spent that time just to get right in the sound in the first place. However, sometimes what they call optimizing, it just sounds different. Sometimes the same words, whatever. So we need to. Well, I need to, and then I'm telling you if you're bothered. What I found, which doesn't always tally with what you. That's the thing about firmware updates. In all these years, I guarantee you, I'll tell you what happened with mine. You'll say yours did the opposite, or the same, or there was no difference. That seems to be the nature of firmware updates. Don't get the variants on all the same modern speakers. It just happens. It's part of life. Yeah. So your experience may not tally with mine. I can only give you my experience. She said. So I recorded it before. I recorded it after, and then I measured everything to see what it's going to be. A spectrogram. I don't know. It's for years it didn't seem to be a big deal for other people, and now this year it seems to be so much confusion. Maybe because they're becoming more popular. So much confusion between a frequency response and a spectrogram. Just know, it's not a frequency response. This spectrogram is frequencies over time. It's not a snapshot of time. You cannot use it as a frequency response. Now, so it relates to the original track. But what it does do, why do I like doing it? It tells me it's a good way of seeing the difference, visually seeing the difference between speakers. It's not the best way to actually get, well, it's not a frequency response. It's not done with a measurement mic, and it's not one mic on axis. It's not, so if you're going 1 meter, industry standard, how they test it, it is not a frequency response. Get that out of the way. She said, right, but they never said that to me. So measured it before. I'm doing it 50% maximum volume. So, shall I tell you what happened before, or shall I listen? I'll let you listen first, 50%, and then we'll talk about it. You may or may not have heard the differences because they're kind of subtle. But I'm surprised actually because I found it quite subtle. Definite differences. What are the differences? Well, I'll tell you that you've lost upper bass, you've gained a little bit in the deeper bass, and you've got more at the high end. It's more V-shaped now, but in a different way. Now I completely forgot what I was going to say before that. The differences were subtle anyway. I said the differences were subtle, but yeah, because you've been telling me you're hearing big differences. So maybe our experiences will vary yet again. I can tell you on mine, has the sound changed? It definitely has. In fact, I can tell you, for me, at 50%, overall loudness is about the same, but the big changes are we've lost a decibel in the upper bass, mid bass, we've lost a tiny bit, depending on where you class these frequencies, and in the deep bass, we've gained 2 decibels. We've also gained 2 decibels in the highs, and we've lost a 0.7 of a decibel in the mids. So, although I'm saying subtle because they're in kind of the range you can argue for a lot of people there is may or may not hear that difference, but the overall tone has definitely changed. We've definitely got a bit more deeper bass. Didn't want to lose, it was already a bit mids light and we've lost more mids, but we gained more in the high where it was already boosted. So whether you like it, definitely see, you could say, well, that's better outdoors, but then you've lost the upper bass. So to me, it hasn't changed how this speaker is. I still don't like listening to it. And I'm finding it hard even to get an EQ for myself. I'm not sure that this is EQable. I may or may not, when I may do it after this video, try and spend some time getting decent EQ out of it. But I'm telling you, for me, just to do a rough and ready EQ, I'm not hearing it. I can't get to a point where, well, that's reasonably decent. Yeah, you can get rid of the mid-bass boost, which I didn't really like. It doesn't change the overall nature of the speaker, which just doesn't, it's kind of a W King sound, but it's a bit more expensive than I'd probably pay for a W King. But of course, a lot of people like that. Can I say for me? So yeah, definite changes at 50%. Some people may not hear the difference at all because I still think it's a bit subtle. But if you're well tuned in, it's going to be track dependent. If you're not playing bass heavy tracks, you may not hear any difference there, and it will just sound a bit brighter. If your tracks don't have much at the high end, and a lot of the electronic music doesn't have much at the high end, again, you won't hear the boosted highs, which you may or may not like because it might make it a little bit more sibilant and harsher. But you may like you've got a bit more bass depth and you've lost that mid bass up. So I think it's one of those hit and miss. It's a hit and miss EQ. They're going in the right direction, but you know they're 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 1.5 steps back kind of thing. It's not a game changer for me, but yes, they seem to have listened to what a lot of people are saying, that too much upper mid bass. We'd like a bit more deep bass, but I didn't hear anybody really say I want more at the high end where it's already boosted. It was kind of flat in the mids and highs. Kind of flat mids and highs relative to that huge big bass, but it's a little bit in the upper mids, a little bit mids light, and it was, and even more so now because they have taken a little bit more away from the mids. I'll let you hear it at maximum volume. So ultimate headroom. Obviously, you can mess them out as much as you want, changing how it sounds at lower volumes, but you've only got your headroom to play with. So that's why I like maximum volume tests. Always sounds horrible. They're always distorting and sound a complete mess at maximum volume. But what it does do, it tells you how much they can play with the volumes, the lower volume steps, because ultimately you're going to hit that headroom limit anyway. So maximum volume.
I wanna throw them hands on my hips, got my head spin around. Catch you laughing on my brain, I'm a little upset. Can't stop now, no, we're not done yet. Move like this, I move like that. If you give a little, then you give it right back. I'ma lay it on your thick till we say goodbye. Do it up like we only got one night.
So basically, it's the same result. Not exactly the same. It's a tad loud, obviously, because of the highs, and we're losing some more bass because it's maximum volume. But basically the same volume overall. The big difference is upper bass, we're now 1.5 dB down. We were 1 decibels down. So we've lost even more upper bass. If you're going at, so where are you going to most likely to play at maximum volume? Outdoors. What kind of bass do you want outdoors? Upper bass. So we've lost 1.5 decibels of the upper bass at maximum volume. The mid bass is about the same. It's the upper bass. So when I'm saying upper bass, I'm talking about between like 100, 200 hertz. Mid bass for me about 60 to. I'm talking about on these type of speakers. Obviously in the high end world it's different. On these type of speakers you're talking about mid bass about 60 to 100 hertz, and then below 60 hertz is where I call it the deeper bass. Deeper bass at maximum volume. It's got about 1 decibel more in the deeper bass, but when you're going for volume, whether they, so I question for everybody whether this is a good idea. I think they're going in the right direction. They seem to have got the right idea, but they haven't thought it through completely. They used to do indoor-outdoor modes, didn't they? I think they need to go back to doing that. I don't know why they stopped doing that. That would help them a lot with a speaker like this. So in terms of deep bass, so overall bass we've lost. See, overall bass, if you take the deeper bass, mid bass, upper bass, at 50%, we were down overall 0.7 decibels. Now we're down 1.1 decibels. So, you've lost even more bass now at maximum volume. We've gained basically 1.5 decibels in the highs. It's going to make it a bit more screechy, but it's going to give it a bit more volume. But then you upper bass. So it's kind of hit and miss for me. That's basically the differences. So it's definitely changed. Definitely on certain tracks we'll appreciate that we've lost some of the upper bass, and now you can definitely hear more of that deeper bass thump. But it's not a particularly deep bass speaker. You can certainly mess around in the app. I had a quick mess about, but I couldn't really get anything that satisfied me. She said, right, I don't know. So you're playing bingo, you're playing the drinking game. She said in an Alan Ross video, I could stop there and you've won, or I could really mess up the whole evening, one morning, I don't know, and do one more, she said. Right. But is it she said, or that's what she said? I don't know. I never used to say it. I don't know why I'm saying it all the time. It's funny how some things, because when you keep pulling me up on it, it just sticks it in my head. She said. That's what she said. What did I say here? Well, you were really, where you were really hear the differences in the upper bass, well, I told you that. It's clearly diminished with new firmware, with a touch more deep bass, and the new firmware was a tad more sparkle, but it's not natural sparkle because it was already boosted in the highs, and it's boosted a little bit more now. So in some ways, it's more V-shaped, in the other ways, it's less. But the fact that they've, I don't know why they tinkered with the mids. I don't know. That doesn't make any sense to me. But none of it really makes sense how a lot of these companies tune their speakers. Except that, obviously, my taste ain't everyone's taste. Nobody's taste is everyone's taste. I guess that's what it is. It's a mass market. It's selling to a mass market. And that was it. No longer telling us. I take credit for that because I don't remember anyone else saying that. Funny, for all that time they were saying bugs fixed, and now they're actually telling us what's fixed, which is, it's taking away some of the enjoyment, isn't it? I used to have a little soundtrack that said bugs. So just do it for the old time's sake. Let's go bugs. If I haven't deleted it, if I've deleted it, I'm going to look really, really stupid after the edit. So that was it. Yes, they're getting shorter and shorter. You thought I was going to say something. I'm not going to say it. And that's it. So yeah, you told me it changed. It has changed. I'm surprised you told me it's changed as much as it has, because to me it's kind of subtle, but definite. But that's in the proper AB. But if you're not doing a proper AB and you're just going by your memory, I'm surprised, but that's always been the case with firmwares. Everybody will say something different. They lost bass, they've gained bass, there's no change. It's always been the case. I can only tell you, hand on my heart, this was my experience. I'll tell you what it sounded like to me. I'll show you how I measured it. Am I the last word in measurements? Clearly not. Because I've seen, shall I talk about Reddit again? I try to go on Reddit again. It's just, I'm not going to do it. It's impossible. It's so negative. Anyway, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, because I saw them talking. They were talking about Aaron's audio, weren't they? Can we get him to do some Bluetooth? He's not going to do Bluetooth speakers. What do you think? It's problematic for them. It's easy with mainstream type speakers, let's say, where you just have to measure it once. But these active speakers with the DSP and the limiters and everything, these are a nightmare because you have to do it at different volumes. I guarantee you, he doesn't want to sit there and all that is automated. They spend £100,000 to do these, 50 quid or whatever it is, Bluetooth speakers, and it will take longer. If it do it like I'm doing it 5 different volume steps, that's 5 times longer. She said, what do I know? What do I know? All I know is whatever you do, whatever you try and say in the most innocent way, people take you the wrong way. Is that no? I've got to stop it. Now my head just wants... Everything I say now, I want to say, as what she said. It's getting ridiculous. Even for me, it's getting boring. Anyway, I think there's been less shouting in this one. And you're quite right when you say to me, you never used to do that. I didn't used to do it. I haven't changed my style, if I've got a style, whatever, or the way I do things consciously. I was just, I think, a lot more nervous, and I was trying to be a more serious reviewer when I first started. And then when I realised... I just need to enjoy myself. I kind of loosened up, and then, trust me, I'm as annoying as I look now. That's how I am. in the real world. I'm not, you know, I almost look like I'm on sedatives in those early videos, but I do grant you, it does look like I've completely changed. I'm just more comfortable. Whereas I was trying to be a reviewer. I didn't really know what I was doing. I started with the mattresses. I was doing, I did, I think, some computer bits at a time. I did some NAS stuff. I just wanted to like the idea of going on YouTube. Then I just said, this seemed to fit me most. I am an enthusiast for speakers. Was using a lot of Bluetooth, but less now. But especially when I was traveling a hell of a lot. And that's why I got so heavily into the Bluetooth, and I had to get rid of my hi-fi for data issues, which I wish I'd never done. But anyway, and space issues. Well, I'm filling this out now, and I'm with more waffle. Nobody's really interested in, and I'll wait for today's complaints. Not that they matter, not that they matter at all. I'm quite happy with what I'm doing, and 99% of people out there are supportive. Does it make a difference if you come in and give me a slap on the back? Absolutely, it does make a difference to me. To be honest, it does require some motivation, because I do put quite a bit of effort, whether it shows or not, into the actual data. So yeah, sometimes you just get tired of it. But I have to say, yes, you said I would look more at peace. I hope I look more at peace in this video. I am more at peace. I made a mistake actually just before doing this video to try and explain something on Reddit to someone who clearly didn't understand but didn't want to acknowledge they don't understand, and then it just becomes personal again. And then they're telling me I need to prove it. I don't need to prove it to any guys. And they clearly hadn't watched the video that we were talking about. I mean, how ridiculous is that? So whatever. But yeah, I've got that's. You know, I did that. I got too involved before. Got to be more at peace with myself. Got to enjoy this and not get involved in the tit for tat stuff that you can never win. Because I realised they actually enjoy the attention. Well, how old are you, Annie? You just found out. Well, I'm talking about in the social media world where you're faceless and you think you can say what you want, and that things you wouldn't say to someone's face in the real world. You know, in the real world, you start having these debates, and you just say, "Well, yeah, I'm not sure I agree with that." But you go in the social media world, they don't say, "Yeah, I'm not." You don't. Yeah, talking about this and that. It's different, isn't it? I know some people would still do that in the real world, but most people do not do that in the real world. Anyway, and that's it. That's the end of the video. And do you know how you know it's the end of the video? Because I'm about to say, thanks for watching. I hope to see you again.
What the f*** was that?
It comes from China.
My speaker's got deep bass, balanced mids, and a bright high.
Yes, mine sounds exactly the same.